Alrighty, this is Metroid, Other M 100%.
Ready for a quick test, Samus? Let's start with a little warm-up. Try a charge beam for me.
So first thing first, this run is being done on the Wii U Virtual Console version of the game. The reason for choosing this version is just strictly due to loading times. Over the course of the entire run, it is expected that Wii U VC will save about 5 to 6 minutes for 100%. It's a little bit less in any percent and hard mode. It's about 3.5 minutes in hard mode and about 4 minutes in any percent.
Get out of morph ball mode and return to normal. Perfect, Samus. Alright, stand in the middle of the room.
The other thing to note about playing this on the Wii U VC version, or in general playing this on a Wii U, either disc or VC version, is that the Wii U provides upscaling of the game.
Just like that, Samus.
While normally Metroid Other M as a 60 FPS game would run at 480p 60, thanks to the Wii U providing upscaling, we're actually able to output at a higher resolution than this. In fact, right now I'm outputting and recording at 720p 60. Simply because that's the limit on my capture card for 60 frames a second.
Here come some beams. Dodge them.
Could go 1080p 60, but since I cannot capture 1080p 60, that's why I don't do it. That was not a bad 5.
Remember how that feels. Next, how about a missile test?
So the one thing about the sense moves is it's RNG how many you get. And I haven't figured out all the factors associated with getting those to speed up. The one thing I do know is double dodging. A lot of them does help. You are very likely to get less than a 6 normally if you double dodge them. But between 4 and 5 and stuff, I'm not sure.
This area is well fortified, so don't hold back. Allow adequate room around you during power bomb play. Alright, Samus. That's it for the test.
That wasn't too bad of a tutorial. And now that we're on the bottle ship, we are going to be starting the main game here. Everything up to entering Sector 1 I affectionately call Prologue. And even in Hundo, this is still actually a really interesting area. Just because of a little bit of collecting we're going to do here. But first, you notice I was rolling everywhere. Very much intended. Rolling is the fastest swing movement. Beats out running, beats out walking, beats out speed booster running. Does not directly beat out shine sparking, however, due to all the startup time associated with generating a speed booster charge, it does beat out shine sparking overall. So as I said, rolling is fastest for ground movement. Vertical movement, it depends on which axes of movement you wish to optimize. If you wish to fall the fastest, Morph does that, followed by Samus's bipedal form, non-spin jump, unmorphed, and then followed by her spin jump form. Spin jump falls the slowest. If you wish to travel the furthest, spin jump does that, followed by morphed, followed by bipedal. Followed up appears that bipedal is just strictly worse than morph and won't ever get used, it does have a use in a trick known as a jump extend. I'll talk about that when I first do one in Sector 2, but I do want to note there is one in Sector 1 I will try and point out in the room, even though I will not talk about jump extend. So this right here is the boss. This is actually the first boss of the run. This is Brugmass. You notice when I enter first person mode, what I'm doing is I'm actually firing a beam shot off. When you enter first person mode, there's a forced slowdown that the game gives you, likely in order to let the player get their bearings and stuff. This slowdown is useful, but it's also slow. And so for that reason, I want to cancel it when I don't need to use the slowdown. Firing a beam shot, fortunately, does that. Now, like I said before, if you don't want to use the slowdown, we can use the slowdown to help us perform another trick I'm actually about to do in this next room here, called rapid fire missiles. The slowdown isn't required for the trick, but it does help because it lets us fire missiles off, more missiles off in the air. So rapid fire missiles work because for some reason either the animation itself doesn't exist or it just does not play for some reason. When Samus fires a missile while in the air, there is no reload animation. As a result, we end up firing missiles as fast as the firing animation, which is much faster than the game expects us to be able to fire missiles. As a result of this, we can fire missiles much faster, end up firing missiles at things, killing them before the game really expects it. Really good, really fast, awesome. One of the handful of tricks we have, fortunately, for us. In this room here, I don't need to raise the platforms to climb this room later during epilogue. However, in the left side of this room, there's a tunnel that I do need that specific platform raised for in order to enter. This tunnel has a missile in it. As this is 100%, I'll need to collect it, so I need this platform raised. Ironically enough, this is actually also the only platform that is not raised prior to turning on the generator. So I do have to raise the platforms. The 100% route for Metroid Other M is quite interesting. So I don't need much of anything to beat the game.
Sector 1. Lyle went ahead to secure a route to a facility of interest.
I do want to end up just focusing on getting through the game as fast as possible, and only picking stuff up at the fastest opportunity to do so. So there's a lot of times where I will get something, or I will not get something the first time because of that speed. Case in point, this room right here, there's a missile expansion here. I'll actually get after Fantoon because it is fastest to do so then. For general purposes, if I'm going to get an expansion, I'm going to do it at the most optimal time to do so. If there's multiple options for that, generally I prefer to get them earlier, due to the fact that having it is just strictly better than not. Even though for the most part I probably won't need it. The only expansions that really are annoying to not get right away are ones that kind of have annoying reasons why they're faster to get later. There's one in Sector 1 where there's a bunch of gamers in a room, and there's a bunch of gamers just in the tunnel with the expansion, and just they're not there during epilogue. So that's a really annoying one because it's like it's fastest to get it during epilogue just because they're not. And it makes no sense, but
Sector 1, a level 3 warning is now in effect in Sector 1. Please avoid traveling alone and remain armed. Stay alert to your surroundings at all times.
Now that all said, there's a couple times where I do want to pick up an expansion even at a point where it's slower to do so, only because doing it later would otherwise cost me more time. There's an expansion in particular in Sector 2 that requires gravity suit to get the intended way. We get it without because it lets us skip going through that entire arc of Sector 2 during cleanup. So, even though it's slower to get without gravity suit, because of routing concerns, it's faster to get it than to have to backtrack for it. And this actually is a common theme for the route. There's a lot of times where I get something because getting it means I don't have to go to get it later. And a lot of times where I get something and by delaying it, it's faster to get later. I don't need anything specifically to beat the game, so speed is really the ultimate concern. So, Sector 1 here, we get a little bit more advanced movement. There's these obstacles on the ground here. And these obstacles are designed for later in the game. Once the player has obtained Speed Booster, these obstacles will break the player's run, thus preventing them from using Speed Booster in certain areas. I don't really care for that aspect of it. However, I do care for it now, because since I'm trying to roll through these areas, they're actually too tall for me to roll over. Because of this, I have to do alternative movement over them, involving jumping over them or unmorphing. And the fastest method is to jump over the morphed, unmorph in midair, and then transition to a spin jump in midair due to the faster horizontal speed of the spin jump in midair. Due to the fact that the transition requires a jump input, this actually ends up being rather precise movement. Very easy to mess up. What I'm doing in this room here is for these rollers, I'm firing a missile at them. This causes them to go into a pose where I can lethal strike them. Right after I fire the missile, I'm actually holding one in towards the enemy while exiting first person mode. And this lets me hit them with the lethal strike as quickly as possible. One of the things I will always want to do is, and I also did this back in main sector, is jump into any forced walking mode in order to limit the amount of time I have to walk. For these forced first-person modes here, I already know where all of them are. That's not the issue. The important thing to note about them is there's actually two ways to lock onto something. The first is to hold B and then hover over the object. This takes about a second for the game to actually lock onto what you are hovering over. The alternative method, and the faster one, is to actually hover over the object and then press B. This method will lock on right when you press B. and is by far the better method. Regardless of which method you use, the important thing you wish to know is that for all these forced first-person modes, as long as you beat the load, you're not losing time. However, if you are too slow, you'll lose time. Every frame you don't beat the load by is a frame you lose. One thing I actually realized I've never mentioned in any of my commentary here. When you for runs, this is a new game file, but we have the ability to skip. What makes this not New Game Plus is the fact that this ability to skip cutscenes is tracked on a meta level. In other words, if the set of files you use has beaten the game at least once, it will have the ability to skip cutscenes, even if you go back to 3 new game files. You'll always have that ability to skip cutscenes, because it's actually tracked on a meta level. It's not a New Game Plus thing. I did want to mention that because I realized I've actually never mentioned that in any of my commentary. For these jumps, I'm actually cutting these jumps up a little short. I don't need the full jump height, and by cutting them short, I can jump faster. Ooh. It is possible to jump out of the Morphball tunnel there. Very difficult to do so. And unfortunately, I did not get any jump out of there. So, yeah, I'm falling down. You can actually jump all the way across and not even have to grab the ledge. But having to grab the ledge isn't too bad. Use bombs for a little bit of propulsion here. Interesting thing to note about Samus Morphball form is that you only have max speed if you have the green echoes behind Samus. No echoes equals not max speed. So unlike the other forms of movement, Morph actually has momentum. And bombs can be used to generate this max speed instantly. Otherwise, I believe you have to wait either 3 or 3.5 seconds in order to generate max speed from the standstill. So if I lay bombs in some weird places, probably to generate max movement speed. I just did not fire a missile at you first, so oh well. We are about to get diffusion beam. So diffusion beam fight here, not too interesting. The only thing I really want to point out here is I do actually want to try and not take much here, or at all. The reason for that is I want to do a very damage intensive strategy for high fight second phase, and the only way to do that effectively is to take as little damage as possible prior to that point. more rapid fire missiles, and then let's just clean everything up. And that fight was done about 30 seconds faster than I think you're expected to do it. It's actually done so fast that the nav station isn't even loaded by the time I go to leave. That's why I do the morph unmorph. Or that's why I do the unmorph morph. Because I actually would otherwise bunk the door if I did not. Really good Funaname here. Really good Funaname. Very fast, and I ended up rather close to the door. You can use a decent bit of time on RNG from them either not coming out quickly or from them taking their time, and spawning in bad locations. So that was rather good RNG on that fight. RNG in Metroid Other M generally tends to not be a factor until you get to very, very high level times. Like, yes, there's RNG fights, but overall, enemy movement patterns tend to balance out over the course of the run. There's a handful of fights where RNG really matters, but for the most part, you're not going to lose heavy gobs of time to RNG unless you're really, really up there. Here I'm actually doing a little interesting thing. So like most Metroids, if you morph with a charge shot, you will get a bomb spread. Metroid Other M has the ability to charge a power bomb while in morph mode. As a result, you also get the ability to unmorph with a charge. If you unmorph with a charge shot, you'll actually get, or if you unmorph with a power bomb charge, you'll actually get a charge shot. And this gets used in a handful of places. But that is the first location to use it. This is Hive Fight. Phase 1, we're actually going to use rapid fire missiles here, but we're going to use them in a different way than what we've seen prior. So the way you've seen so far is to go jump into the air and then to fire missiles while in the air. We could use this method, but I want to change targets. So what I'm actually going to do instead is I'm going to exit and then re-enter first person mode. And by doing this is another way to cancel that slow down. Okay. It is actually possible to soft lock this fight. If you hit two of them with a missile in the same frame, you'll soft lock the fight. This guy, simply 6 missiles to him, kills him. Because I don't really care about all the whatever they're called, key hunters. I just tank the damage. And that's why I want to have as much health as I can in order to just be able to tank all those hits. A very good fight. This has been a very solid run so far. I'm 3 seconds behind PB, and PB is, I think, 14 seconds behind Golds. So 17 seconds off Golds here is really, really, really good. Nav stations in the console both have a suction effect to them, where you don't have to be directly on them in order to use them. For consoles, I actually generally tend to want to run into them, and morph holding a direction and then stop holding the direction right after. For nav stations, I actually want to do a stop unmorph, where I actually let go of the D-pad and then unmorph. And the reason for this is morph has momentum, so you will actually move even if you aren't holding down a D-pad direction when you're morphed. But what I can do is I can let go of the D-pad and then unmorph. Because I'm not holding a D-pad direction when I unmorph, I stop on a dime. Because there is no momentum to bipedal running. There's only momentum to morph. I'm sorry. I wasn't aware spawn killing wasn't allowed. There is a strat with infinite bomb jumping in this room. You can horizontal IBJ up to that platform I just jumped down to. The only thing is, due to how Metroid Other M handled IBJ, it really is a lot harder than you think. It only saves a second, so due to all the intricacies involved with infinite bomb jumping, it's for the most part not worth going for in runs. Speaking of things that aren't worth going for in runs, there is a jump extend in this room. Give me a couple moments. The right platform over there on that set of 4. You can jump extend over to this platform right here I just jumped off. If done well in the first try, it saves about 30 seconds compared to actually navigating the tunnels. But unlike the other 2 jump extends I will be going for later, if you fail it, you get 0 progress towards your destination, and especially considering it is the hardest of the 3 jump extends really viable for runs, not worth going for at all. This guy is nicknamed Spider Duck. There's a couple ways to fight him. One of them is to stand underneath him and spam beam shots. The other method is to use missiles like this. For this specific fight, due to the strength of our beam, the 2 aren't too dissimilar in times, maybe a second or so different. There's a second time we'll fight this guy later. At that point, our beam will be much stronger, and therefore we will want to fight him with the underneath beam strat. Coming out of that jump tower right there, I actually end up getting a trick known as a top-out jump skip. And what that is on jump towers where you jump back and forth across. Near the top of these towers, there is a trigger which I believe to be manually placed. And this trigger tells the game, okay, the player's going to jump out of this jump tower, Hello. And to give them this special jumping out animation. However, I believe these triggers are manually placed, and as a result, sometimes we can dodge them. By jumping at specific heights, we can jump low enough that we're not hitting this trigger, and yet high enough that we're actually jumping across to out of the top of the tower. Every time we can get this to happen, it saves about a second, just due to the animation that we end up skipping. But as I mentioned, because all the triggers are manually placed, some of them it's really easy. That specific one's actually rather easy to do. Some of them it's very difficult, so it really depends on the tower itself. Alrighty, so we are almost done with Sector 1's first trip here. And as a result, we're going into the exam center. Fortunately, I'm going to say it straight up in advance. Exam center is the most boring part of the run, and there's really not much I can do about that. Oh, thank. Ways to get a heart attack running Metroid Other M. Have Samus make like she wants to drop off that platform. So if you actually drop off the platform there, it's about 45 second time loss. Because that's about how long it is to ride to the top of the room, roll to the top of the room, and then ride the platform all the way back. So yeah, ways to make the Metroid Other M runner have a heart attack is to do that. Oh my god. Wow. But as I was saying, Exam Center is somewhat boring. Not much I can do about it. But it does give me a chance to tell some really interesting stories regarding Other M. So, as it turns out, there is a game crash you can actually achieve on console without any hacks. All you need is, I don't even know if you need the ability to skip cutscenes or not, but all of my testing has been done with it. So, as it turns out, if you try and force Morph Ball Samus into first-person mode, the game will crash. Now, it has to be Morph Ball Samus into first-person mode. They have a really interesting counter for this if you do this in normal gameplay. If you morph and point at the screen, Samus will unmorph and enter first-person mode. However, for the forced first-person modes, where the game forces Samus into first-person mode, usually you have to be unmorphed due to the cutscene preceding it. However, if there's a skippable cutscene prior to the forced first-person mode, immediately prior to it, you skip this cutscene, there is one frame where the game will accept inputs. And if you morph on that one frame, remember, at 60 frames a second, one frame window, the game will crash. Because there's no failsafe on the game. You know, normal gameplay, there's the failsafe of if you go to enter first person mode while morphed, the game will just unmorph you. Because the game's forcing you into first person mode, yeah. Doesn't work. You'll get a game crash. It actually happened to me in a run. And that's why during a lot of these cutscenes, I don't mess around with like random A or 1 or 2 inputs now. Because that happened to me in a run. I crashed the game. And then I looked at my console and thinking to myself, I'm like, what? But yeah, so skip a cutscene where immediately after that cutscene there's a forced first person mode. And you have a 1 frame window to press A. And pressing A will crash the game. That's one you can try at home, folks. But good luck. Some other ways to crash Metroid Other M are, and the fact that the list is so small and includes 1 item that can be done without hacking is kind of a testament to how solid this game is. Unfortunately, it's also kind of a testament to how solid this game is. But some other ways to crash Other M are to load a save at that nav station without Samus being in a forced walking pose. You will crash the game from that. I believe just being in these areas without the forced walking pose set will crash the game. I'm not sure. Like, that's how locked down this area is. It's like, I think just not being in this forced walking mode crashes the game. Hey, look, we get to do something. A fight. So, interestingly enough here, land on your head, please. Thank you. Alright, that could have been a better fight. Good news is I was relatively close to the door, so not too bad, but it could have been a better fight. The key thing to remember for that fight is after the fight you're back in a forced walking pose, so you really want to end the fight as close to the door as possible. On top of that, once you get down to 2, they tend to want to run away into those back tunnels. And so to kill them without that is kind of annoying, but kind of what you want to do. If this were not a 100% run, I would probably focus more for Team Ridley here. However, due to this being 100% and the fact I have an Excel charge, on second thought, I was going to say, due to this being 100% having an Excel charge, this fight's a lot harder to mess up, and I promptly mess it up. So, I was just going to focus there. So yeah, that's Teen Ridley fight. The unfortunate thing about that little pass there is That's actually a one-time use only thing. I would love to use that during epilogue, but unfortunately I can't because it doesn't exist then. The entire exam center area is blocked off now, and I have no way to access it. There's nothing in there for collection items concerned, so you know, it's not possible to screw yourself out of 100%. The only important thing to note is, you know, you don't get that access. So routing for epilogue has to be based around that fact. And look, it's scripted hell run. So yeah, this isn't that hard. Vorsh's always going to jump out at you from the same spots every single time. So right now my movement is just planned around where is Vorsh going to be jumping out at me from. And then just doing my movement optimally for Ow.
Looks like the normal beam won't have any impact on the enemies around here. Samus, use your ice beam.
Yeah, I knew it was switching. I knew it was transitioning immediately when I landed. So I was glad to get the. I was glad to get the missile off in time, because otherwise I would have had to do that after getting ice beam. Remember those unmorphed charge shots? Yeah, we're gonna use more of those in here. Important thing to note for those guys is like most things, you actually have to be spin jumping in order to land on their head. So if you just do a normal vertical jump without spin jumping, you actually can't land on them. So it might seem weird when I just are jumping and then all of a sudden go right to their head. That's actually when I initiate a spin jump. And when I initiate the spin jump, the game realizes I'm close enough, and so puts me on top of their head for the overblast. This right here is the second hell run. This one isn't too involved. There's two enemies coming up right here that can be tedious, but by this point in my running, I figured out most of their patterns they can do, and I know how to react to them. That is energy part number 4. That is actually the last tank I will get from energy parts prior to epilogue. Oh, these things. Asborians, aka sliders. That is an AI manipulation strat we do. That is a very fast kill as a result, but it is AI manipulation. It is not guaranteed to work. They only go vulnerable when they stick their head out. So as a result, my goal is basically for them to stick their head out as quickly as possible. Nice perfect 28 bridge as well. .28 bridge being 28 energy on the bridge. Am I seriously getting sniped like in mid-air? Wow. Wow, whoa, we was. I can't believe I got sniped like 3 times in mid-air. Those guys are not that accurate either. Wow. And this is hell run number 4 right here. So this is the final hell run. We're actually going to be getting various in like maybe a minute at. Yeah, because I was unmorphing there is why I couldn't actually dodge that one. I should have been smart and not unmorph there. But
Samus, activate the Varia feature on your suit to protect yourself from heat damage.
But I didn't. That's Varia. This is Goyagma, aka RNG boss number 1. So because I have the 2 Excel charges, this fight actually goes a lot faster in your first round here. I'm pulling up his health bar because I want to show off another AI manipulation strat here. For the second round specifically. So I need him to do a specific attack in order to become vulnerable, so I can freeze his hand. This is the attack I want him to do, and this hand slap. Now this hand slap, he can do either 4 to 7. However, a couple things to note. He will only ever end with his right hand. Furthermore, he always starts with the hand for the side of the arena you're on. As a result, I stand on the right side of the arena, his left. Get him to start with his left hand here. And thus get him to end with his right. So now I'm literally just waiting on him to do this hand attack. But the AI I want to point out here is he is in his first phase AI here. That is because he is exactly half health. Once he goes below half, he actually switches to a second phase AI. And at that point, the hand attack I want becomes less common. However, it is slightly faster if it comes out. Due to the fact that it is far less common though, runners would generally do the fight such that they kill him from his first phase AI and not have to deal with his second phase AI. Because this AI also has much more in the form of time-wasting attacks. I got some meh RNG on that. So, not too great, but not really anything I can do. Because that is pure RNG. Only doing 3 hits in that first round is also part of the AI manipulation. I can kill him from 4 hits. So as a result, by only doing 3 in the first round, I can still kill him, and I keep him in that first phase AI, which is generally human friendly. Generally.
Okay, Samus, head to Sector 2. There's a high probability of survivors hiding there. We'll have to take care of that freak of nature later.
For that, all I have to do there is actually briefly enter the next room. Simply making it visible on the minimap isn't to trigger that text. Oh look, another is boring in here. Are you gonna be nice to me? Are you gonna be nice to me? That was rather nice to me. Third one's probably not gonna be so nice though. But too bad. So I'm probably losing a little bit of time here just due to the boss fight. Probably about 20 seconds maybe at most.
This elevator is bound for the main sector.
Like I said, just due to the boss fight. But we're off to Sector 2 here.
This elevator is bound for Sector 2. A level 4 warning is now in effect in Sector 2. An irregularity in the climate control systems of Sector 2 has been confirmed. Please be sure to wear protective equipment and use extreme care when moving around this floor.
Maybe I'm not losing as much time as I thought. Yeah, I only lost 9 seconds there. That's kind of surprising. I thought the boss fight was worse than that. But that's pretty much just from the boss fight, so not too concerned about that time loss. Sector 3 has a ton of RNG. Guayagma's RNG. There's 2 slider fights in the first time you visit there as well. They're RNG. For the return trip, there's another slider. More RNG. There's Vorash, which is a heavy RNG boss. You thought Guayagma was bad. There's also Ridley, which has some RNG to it. He has favorable attacks and, well, not so favorable attacks. So right here I'm going to be attempting a jump extend. Almost got it, did not quite. But what a jump extend is you jump and you alternate between Samus's bipedal form and a spin jump. And by doing this, you actually can get more distance than you would if you just did a spin jump. Now, it's a little tricky to perform because you don't mash alternating 1 and 2. It's actually rather timed. But what you can end up doing is you get a little bit of distance out of it, and that will let you make that jump if you get at it. That fight in that previous room was a Giga Frog. The fast way to kill them is you have to missile their head open, but if you missile them at some point to cause them to go vulnerable, either when they're in the air or if you hit them in the butt, they will become vulnerable to a lethal strike, and you can lethal strike them from there. But the head has to be cracked open in order for the lethal strike to actually work. That enemy was a Pika. I don't know what they're actually called, but we nicknamed them Pika. They're electric, they're spiky. I'm sure most of you will get the resemblance. And the fastest way to kill them with combat is to hit them with a charge shot and then to lethal strike them. If you're noticing a theme here, we're using a lot of lethal strikes and overblasts. Yeah. There's one good thing about Metroid Other M combat, and it's actually very, very difficult to optimize from the perspective of you actually have quite a few options at your disposal. That said, there are a few that kind of take over a lot of times. Overblast and lethal strike kind of take over as a lot of our high damage output options. But there's a lot of interesting combat in Other M. Now, the reason before I said the fastest way to kill these guys with combat is... Nope. They're electric enemies. They're electric. Water and electricity don't mix. Anybody can tell you that. And so... That right there is a very tricky turnaround jump, and that actually lets us get this missile early. You're supposed to need gravity suit in order to get that, but by doing that turnaround jump, we can actually jump down to the missile from above, rather than up to it like we're supposed to. Nice camera, but... lethal strike for the kill. And that was very good. So we will be fighting 2 more of those in a little bit, but first we get this round. Yeah, this is not a fun one. Giga, there's... There's these guys, and actually I'm doing a difficult strat here. Alright, one more time. I'm gonna have to kill these things. But if I can kill these things as they spawn in, I can actually skip killing that nest, which means I don't have to go down to the bottom side of this room. I can just ride the platform up. And believe it or not, that saves about 10 seconds. But it is a very difficult strat to do, because you have to kill the things as they spawn in, And pretty much if you mess it up once, you have to go down and kill the nest because you throw all the timings off. Not an easy trick, but that saves 10 seconds. Oh, fish tank. Yeah, I hate fish tank. This is water tank, aka fish tank, aka a really nasty room. As you see, Samus will want to sense move a lot. The fish will want to knock you a lot. Not fun. For once, I actually didn't mind that deboost. Normally when the fish hit you underwater, it's really bad because it's a very annoying deboost, especially if they knock you out of Earth. Surprisingly enough... Also, don't try that jump at home I just did. Unwarping like that. That is rather precise. Surprisingly enough, that deboost actually wasn't too bad for me. In knocking out a morph, which was okay. Not great, because I'd rather just unmorph myself. But it knocked me back really far, and that was actually some rather nice distance. So, for deboost, I've seen worse. Deboost obviously being damage boost.
The most efficient way through here should be delivering shoulder impacts with your speed booster, so I'm authorizing its use.
That was a really, really good speed booster split there. Well. So, as I mentioned way back at the beginning, rolling is faster than speed booster running. So I will want to optimize the distance a speed booster run and make it as little as possible. You'll get to start noticing some of those now. Now, since I failed the jump extend early, it's actually not feasible to try it again. The reason I was able to try it before is because I have the platforms I can raise as a safe backup. Now that I don't have the platforms, trying the jump extend is not sound. Surprisingly enough, I always thought for the longest time, if you Shine Spark during Epilogue to go down a bit for that E-Tank, it'd be faster to get during Epilogue. I timed it out. It's actually fastest to get now. By about a second. Okay, good. Second try on that. That is an early spark. So normally, as you saw the first time through, the step is actually supposed to take away your speed booster charge there. However, by firing the beam shot as we go over it, we can trick the game into not taking away our speed booster charge, and we have enough room to actually build up a speed booster charge fully and get a Shine Spark. And we can use this Shine Spark to skip the puzzle in that. So when you make a Pika angry, either like doing a lot of damage to them, or hitting them with the shine spark. They go, I guess what you can call hyper, and turn electric. The only way to get them out of this electric form is to hit them with a missile. I could spend a little bit of time, knock all the 3 still icicles out of the way, and do this shine spark in such a way that I don't send him electric, but it's just faster to knock him out of electric and do the shine spark the fastest way possible than to waste time on clearing more stuff out so we can not have to deal with him. You guys who remember this guy from Sector 1, this is how we fight him. Oh. And I have no idea where Samus is right now. I literally don't know where Samus is right now. Okay. We're good. But most things on the ground that you have to missile, you can actually also bomb. For some reason, that rock is an exception, and you actually have to missile it. You can't bomb it open. But there's a lot of things on the ground that are interchangeable, and any explosive will work. Once again, jumping into some forced morph here. Forced walking. One thing I didn't talk about before in example, surprisingly enough, is optimization levels. And the one thing a lot of people lose time on when they're speedrunning, and this isn't just a Metroid Other M thing, but a speedrunning thing in general, is optimization of movement. In a lot of cases, people's movement is not hyper optimized. And you might say, oh, it's very hard to get super optimal movement in a non-task setting, and you're not wrong. But you still have to recognize that you're losing time to it. And a lot of people don't. The other thing to note is when these forced walking sections, because our movement speed is that much slower, being able to optimize our movement better is a really important thing. Also, by the way, that was a boss fight. You spin me right round, baby, right round, like a record, baby, round, round, round.
With those.
What? I gotta do something during downtime. Oh. There's a missile in this room. It's a little interesting because it seems like it's not the greatest time to get it now, but it actually is. So the next room I actually have to wait a little bit on it to load, even in VC. Waiting on going to get the missile actually lets me have enough time to let the room load. I only need a half second. The other thing is, after I get wave beam, the barriers open back up in a specific order. And actually, that bottom south barrier is the last one to open. So if I were to get the missile after wave beam, I would have to wait longer on the barriers. And it's for those two reasons that it's actually faster to get that missile before you go up here the first time. And if you're not playing in VC, that is only even further true because of the loading. That energy tank, the energy tank in main sector, I picked up before the one room, and a missile in sector 1 in the one tunnel, morph tunnel. Those 3 expansions are forced onto the player. As a result, those 3 are actually the 3 expansions you have to collect 80%. Generally, you don't want to get anything else because collecting things is slow. However, a lot of runs, including my top time, will usually at least consider getting Ridley's E-Tank, just for safety reasons.
You need a permeating shot effect to get past this. I'm authorizing you to unlock your wave beam.
Ow. Nice. By killing the final pirate before the second one finished dying, I actually skipped the cutscene there, which otherwise shows the final pirate dying. Tricky to do due to timing issues, but if you can get it, it's a nice time saver. So now these actually second set of grids here is going to be electrified. Nice catch on the cycles there. I do still have to wait a little bit for that one. But not too bad. And let's see if I can get this unmorph shot here. Oop. That is actually a rather difficult thing to be able to do. You only have a handful of frames in which to unmorph there. But if you can unmorph, and if you time your unmorph right, you can unmorph and use the charge shot from the charging a power bomb and unmorphing to actually hit that charge target. The amount of time it saves depends on the category. In non-100%, it saves, I think, about 4 seconds, which is the amount of time it takes to charge shot in those categories. In 100%, I believe it's 1.5 seconds less, so 2.5. But even still, it is a nice time saver to get if you can get it. for these platforms, I'm actually taking, with one exception, the actual intended route up those. Just doing it very quickly. The one exception is when I jump up to and over one to the left. For that, you're supposed to jump up one and over one to the right, and then up one over two to the left in order to be able to reach that. But because you can jump up two, I can carefully do a little bit of horizontal movement in there as well to get over one, top of the up two. You can do some advanced strats with charge shot recoiling and jumping off platforms that like aren't frozen or aren't or aren't like missile, but generally I take the simple way up. This is a recurring mini boss, Rieger here. So Rieger is a guy. He can take some damage, but you don't kill him for a while. We'll encounter him actually 3 more times before we kill him the 4th time. For that charge target, you're supposed to actually have to hit both of the bomb pads down underneath in the morph ball tunnel. However, because they didn't really protect the target well enough, you can actually get away with just hitting the first and then doing a diagonal charge shot in. The only thing is you do have to wait for the charge target to be targetable. Otherwise, it will not register your shot. And that is our first trip to Sector 2.
This elevator is bound for the main sector.
Back off to Sector 3 here.
This elevator is bound for Sector 3. A level 4 warning is now in effect in Sector 3. An irregularity has been confirmed in the geothermal power plant and the experimental simulated desert area. All staff members are asked to please evacuate immediately.
The one thing of interesting note here is that this is actually the last time we are going to be in Sector 3 prior to Epilogue. Sector 3 is a very small sector comparatively. It might seem like a lot, but it really is small. And it's also underutilized for the most part. Also, give that guy a gold star for paying attention. Because he is always on point, always ready to wreck Samus's day. That guy seems like he's paying attention now. Yeah, wait till we come back through here. He won't be paying too much attention. But yeah, that bottom guy there, yeah. Give him a gold star for paying attention, because he will wreck your day no matter what, pretty much. Come on. Alright, I'll at least kill you. That is somewhat tricky to grab, because there's really no good camera angle for it. Thank you. That's what I wanted you to do. Come on down, off the wall. There you go. Good as boring. Are you going to be nice to me? No, not so much. Oh, I've seen worse. So, that's an example of a not so great as boring fight, or a not so great slider. But even still, that one wasn't too bad, fortunately. Funnily enough, even though we can actually get this energy part the first time we're in this room, this is the first time it's the fastest to get, assuming I can get out of it. Are you... Oh my... Wow. Hello, game. Thank you. Also, that guy's not paying attention. Like I told you. This guy pays attention. And not so much. But that is actually the first time it is fastest to get that energy part. We can get it later during cleanup, epilogue when we come back through the room then. But no real point. Now, like I've said before, when there's multiple fastest times to get it, I generally prefer the first. Because I'd rather have it than not, even though I don't really need it.
Samus, use of the grapple beam is authorized. Get to Anthony and cover him.
Not too bad of a fight. I could have lost a lot more time off the Asborian, off the other stuff, but that wasn't too bad. Vorash time, yay. First, you get to see another turnaround jump coming out of getting this guy. Turnaround jumps are so named because you actually end up turning around in mid-air for them. So, most of the time when you're jumping across to something or over to something. Turnaround jumps, you're actually jumping to a platform literally above your head. And as a result, you have to turn around in mid-air. Hence the name turnaround jumps. Because of this turnaround being required, they're actually one of the harder jumps in Metroid Other M to perform. There's a handful of turnaround jumps used even as early as, well, Prologue main sector, and as late as a double turnaround jump in Sector 2 cleanup. Come on, Vorash, be nice to me. This is Vorash. Vorash is not a good boy. So I don't really care to pull up his health bar here. But I'm doing so because I kind of want to see it. Be nice. Here, fishy, fishy. I don't know why I got pulled into the lava. Here, fishy, fishy. This isn't a great fight, but for Vorash, even a bad fight is okay. As long as you kind of do decent on him. And that was an if fight. But Vorash is a major pain in the butt from an RNG perspective. You can make a lot of decisions that if he's doing one thing, your decision's right. If he's doing another thing, your decision's wrong. And there's no way to know. Not until he does what he does.
Samus, it looks like that monster is headed to the geothermal electric power generator. Track it and put an end to it.
Data recording.
So in this next room here, there's actually a very difficult Shine Spark. Fingers crossed. Okay, we got it. We're good. Yeah, you're not supposed to be able to do diagonal speed booster in the first place. And let alone in that specific area because the rocks are supposed to interrupt it. There's the grapple. Thank you. Give me the grapple. That gets me up to the room. 2, 3. Shine Spark. Alrighty. That movement seems really easy, and it really is not. So I really want to point out that movement is a ton harder than I make it look. Okay. So one interesting thing I want to point out, and I've actually done this before, but I never pointed it out before, is on these pillars, as long as you're grabbing onto them, you can actually single wall jump off the up the pillar, and then off the pillar to get to a higher height than you're supposed to be able to. Second try's not too bad for that. That's a really difficult Shine Spark to line up because of all the enemies. That one guy is very, very likely to hit you as well. So to try and get that kind of ridiculous. Hey, guess who we get to fight again? We got this guy. Holy, that is like the fastest fight I've had on him ever. I'm not joking when I say that. That was a ridiculous fight. That was a ridiculously fast fight. I'm not even kidding. That was a ridiculously fast fight. Wow, okay. In this room here, there's a missile expansion. If I was able to drop off the grapple target, I'd be able to grab it now. Unfortunately, I don't quite have a way to do that as far as I know. So if you know how to do that and you can tell me how to do that, I'd love it. Because it would skip like a minute in backtracking in Sector 3. During cleanup. But yeah, I don't know how to do it, so now the route I'm taking in this room seems a little awkward. And for those of you who've played this game casually, it's very much going to be. But yeah, we can do a trick like that. And as it turns out, jumping into first-person mode is kind of broken. That, believe it or not, saves 30 seconds over doing the route you're supposed to take. Time for Ridley. Hopefully Ridley will be nice. Hopefully. Hopefully. Yeah, fun fact, you can just roll into that second one. Bye-bye, door.
Samus, blast the eruption port to get the magma flowing.
And yes, I'm spamming B there to get the lock on quicker. You weren't. That was an unfortunate start. So yeah, if he does certain attacks, he is going to go airborne. If you react with a charge shot, and tail attack is one of those attacks that he will do that for. And that was a rather decent fight. Aside from having him go airborne early on me. There's two major schools of thought for this room. One is to drop down during the cutscene, and then jump out of the lava. The other is to drop down after. I'm still not sure which is better. That was relatively clean getting out of there, which is nice. So by this point in the run, I actually am not going to be picking up too much more prior to starting endgame. At this point in the run, I've gone through most of the areas already.
For Sector 1.
So anything that was fastest to pick up earlier, I've probably already gotten. Only if I haven't been to the room will I pretty much be getting something new. Or if I haven't been to the room with a certain ability. Those two rollers are actually rather interesting from a damage perspective. As it turns out, supers have a ton of blast radius, but at the same time, the damage on this blast radius varies. And so sometimes what will kill something one time won't do it another time. And it just depends on the AoE damage as well. So those enemies are a great example of that, because if your AoE damage is good, they'll just die to a single super. On the other hand, if your AoE damage is bad, and this is RNG, they will need several beam shots or even a lethal strike to kill. So it really depends on your damage.
Any objections, Adam?
This actually also comes up in Queen Fight as well, where you can get anywhere from like 2 to 5 supers on Queen's second phase, purely dependent on how much damage your supers are doing, and also how much AoE you're getting off your Seekers as well. Believe it or not, it is actually fastest to extend that bridge there. Extending the bridge takes about 4.5 seconds. To roll across the bridge once takes about 4.5 seconds. To screw attack across the gap takes about 9. So even if the only time I use the bridge is going back from this trip, it's still a break-even point, since I have to come back down here at least one more time due to having to start epilogue, which is down here. It's always a net gain for us, and fastest to do so. Always, regardless of category. I don't know what happened that I literally took 100 damage there. Okay. We'll go with it. It's a good thing this is not hard mode, because that would have been an OHKO in hard mode. Or a 2-hit KO, I'm not sure. But yeah, damage is kind of a little interesting, weird sometimes. Important thing I do want to point out is you do not want to pick things up, or if you can avoid it. The animation is longer, especially for diffusion beam and seekers. If you can pick those up unmorphed, you're saving multiple seconds compared to if you pick them up morphed. And that is because actually, if you pick those up unmorphed, Samus will, or if you pick those up morphed, Samus will literally unmorph as part of the cutscene, which takes a couple seconds actually to do.
This elevator is bound for the main sector.
Here goes back to Sector 2. I have a couple things to pick up in here. En route to Nightmare.
This elevator is bound for Sector 2.
This missile right here. There's no good time to get that. With the hopper there, it's kind of really annoying to go through the room. So no good time to get that missile. That other missile, that's really the only time we can get it without losing a ton of time. If you don't get it there, your best chance is during epilogue, but you're still going to have to waste a shine spark. So because we never cleared this room out earlier. Oh, hi. Yeah, he was like literally right on my butt there. Holy cow. But because we never cleared it out earlier, when I kill him, probably during epilogue or on my way back, I will actually flash the dot for the expansions in the room, because since I never killed the missile, or since I never killed the nest earlier, it never really registered the enemies being cleared, which is what triggers the dots prior to epilogue, that is. So it'll register it afterwards. So upside down gravity. Upside down gravity is really interesting. The important thing to note is it's actually not anything different control-wise. Up is still towards the screen. Down is still towards the player, towards the bottom of the screen. Left and right are still left and right. Your perspective, well, Samus is, herself inverted, but that shouldn't affect you too much. Heavy gravity, on the other hand, heavy gravity is really interesting. One thing to keep in mind about heavy gravity is you do not want to land morphed, because unmorphed. If you land unmorphed, there's a heavy thud animation that plays. It takes about a second, and just wastes time. On the other hand, if you land morphed, you actually will get more movement speed, because as soon as you land, you'll actually start moving due to the fact that you can't bounce. Right there's the only time I want to land unmorphed, and that is simply due to needing to grapple right away. So that was actually some very good gravity movement. Heavy gravity movement. Did not... It really didn't waste any time there. And we're going to start Nightmare 1 fight. Now, a little bit of backstory here. Nightmare 1 is a boss that, as far as the developers are concerned, can only be 3 cycles at best. Not supposed to be able to 2-cycle this boss. The way they set the fight up with the hit point, with the health breakpoints and such, basically renders it all but impossible. The one thing they forgot about is rapid-fire missiles. And this is actually a use of the secondary form of rapid-fire missiles, where we exit and re-enter first-person mode. This method we can use to do the fight in 2 cycles. I will explain all of the dynamics about it after the fight, but let me just simply state now that the pattern of damage I'm going to use is very specific in order to be able to get the fight in 2 cycles. So notice his health bar here. He's actually quite a bit below half health here. And this is important. That's fine. Alright, I'm gonna wait this attack out here. Got it. Yes! That is actually a very difficult 2-cycle game. That is a very difficult 2-cycle game. So, now that the fight's over, let me actually talk about the fight. So, Nightmare 1, there's round 1 and there's rounds after 1. Rounds 2 and on. In round 1, the fight is very simple. You can do as many hits as you want until you take him to 2/3 or less. Once he goes to 2/3 health or less, you get one more hit of any kind, and he will advance to round 2. For every round after, rounds 2 and on, it's very simple. If he starts the fight above half health, you get 3 hits of any kind. If he starts the fight at or below, you will get 2 hits of any kind. And this theoretically prevents the player from being able to kill him in 2 rounds. Even if we do the maximum possible damage in the first round, we still need 2 supers plus a missile to finish out the damage, and since we only get 2 hits, it's theoretically, hypothetically impossible for us to get 3 hits in 2 hits of, duration. After all, it's not time-based, it's, hits-based, damage-based. So as a result, we only get so many hits. We need to do more than that, therefore, impossible. Or so they expected. The thing they did not count for is being able to rapid-fire missile, and this lets us sneak in that extra little bit of damage. So the pattern I do is I open up with the super. It's simple to open up with the super because I can start to charge it during the mini cutscene where his tail gets frozen and he reacts to it. So I can start to charge up for the super during this. I then fire a missile. If I would fire another super at this point, I would take him to 2/3 health, which is not what I want to do. So at this point, I fire a missile. This keeps him above 2/3 health. I haven't hit that breakpoint yet. As a result, I can still do as many hits as I want to. I do another super. This takes him to well below this 2/3 health point. And as a result, I get one more hit in this opening first round. I use another super here. Takes him well below half. And I've done basically optimal damage for the first round here. For the second round, I only get 2 hits. I need to do 2 supers plus a missile. So, first super, second super, and I need to rapid fire the missile. Now the important thing to note here is because I'm firing a super, I actually can't use the jumping method of rapid fire missiles. So as a result, I actually have to use the untarget retarget method. And this complicates things a bit because it's while the timing varies slightly based on the distance between Nightmare and Samus, a general rule of thumb is you have 90 frames starting the frame you fire the super to exit first person mode, go back to third person mode, re-enter first person mode, walk onto Nightmare's face, and fire a missile. 90 frames is 1.5 seconds, roughly. As always, if you're closer to him, you get less time because it's sooner. The super will hit him sooner. If you're further away, you get a little bit more time. But in general, it's about 90 frames. That was a good fight. And so that literally 90 frame window for Nightmare 1, 1.5 seconds. Nightmare 2, I didn't talk too much about it. In 100%, it's not that interesting of a fight, because as you see, you just spam 5 supers at his face and he's dead. In non-100% categories, it's actually a lot more interesting of a fight, because due to your missiles being more restricted, you actually have to incorporate refills during the fight. There is a strategy which actually will let you clear the fight in 1 round still, despite being restricted by slower charging and having to refill missiles. However, that strategy is actually very difficult as well. Fortunately, we don't have to worry about that in 100%. We can literally just fire 5 supers in his face and be done with the fight. Now that I have gravity suit, all these heavy gravity, upside down gravity parts don't really affect Samus. Why are you taking my speed booster away? Yeah, I'm supposed to do a Shine Spark up this. But when the game takes your speed booster away for some reason, I literally don't understand why either. But when the game takes your speed booster away, you kind of can't do a Shine Spark. So that was kind of awkward. And that's unfortunately just something that can happen, is the game can just sometimes drop your speed booster. We don't know why. We literally don't understand why it happens. But it can, and sometimes it really inconveniently it does. So I only have, I think, 1 more item to pick up prior to Epilogue, and that is an energy part in Sector 1. But for the most part right now, my goal is just blitz to Epilogue and then start cleanup.
This elevator is bound for the main sector.
There's partial thought as to why you go to Epilogue first. The most important is just power bombs. If I were to start doing cleanup now, I'd encounter about 10 things I need power bombs for. And since you get power bombs with Queen Fight, I wouldn't have them yet. So that is why cleanup is shunted all the way to Epilogue. Otherwise, I would probably start doing it now. So this room right here actually has the E part I'm going to grab. I can honestly say I've never been grabbed there before. I figured it had to happen one of these days, though. And as far as BioWeb facility goes, there are a few things in here. Unfortunately, since I will have to come back to this area during Epilogue, 2 of the things down here are in a room I cannot access, unfortunately. So, as a result, I do have to come back down here during Epilogue. Therefore, the missile tank in that previous room, I will also delay until that point. But right now, it's just off to Queen. Start off cleanup. Once again, I don't want to enter first person mode unless I have to. Alrighty, let's go. Let's go Queen fight. As of right now, I am actually now locked into going for Epilogue. Prior to entering this room, you can actually just go back. As of this point, I now have to fight Queen and go for beating Queen MD. Not too bad. I actually kind of wish I hadn't frozen him in the back because that did cost me time. Sometimes you're okay like that. Sometimes you're not. Alright, not too bad. I lost a little bit more time because I had to use an extra super in round 1, so I had to do a refill because I need supers in round 2. that is pretty good. And this is a boss MB fight right here. That was a boss MB fight right there. I'm not kidding, that's how fast it is. And we are in epilogue. Oh. Any flashing dot is something to pick up. During main game, I got 45 of them. That leaves 55 for epilogue. And we start with them pretty much right away. Now in this next room, I'm actually going to try something. I used to use a power bomb in here. Actually want to try just bombing this open. The power bomb isn't a bad strat. The only problem is it generates a tiny cutscene when you use it, so I want to see if avoiding that cutscene is faster. Very annoying rooms here. This one missile right here I'm actually going to get right now is very pain in the butt. Because if it weren't for this missile, I wouldn't have to do a ton of backtrack. Unfortunately, due to it, I do. Can't get it the other way because it unlocks the door, so that's why I have to get it in this method. Trick I did there is actually a Shine Spark slide stop. And that's done by as you land from your Shine Spark. Normally there's a slide animation. However, if you enter the concentration animation, that'll actually instantly cancel the slide. So now that I've gotten almost everything in main sector, there are still two things to grab. One behind this power bomb door. And that was a literal perfect depth. The other one is the thing I will grab after soon. Please be nice to me. This is not an easy energy part to grab. Thank you. That is not an easy energy part to grab. Because you have to really screw attack out over for that. You have to really screw attack over for that. That is not an easy energy part to grab. Oh, gold. I guess because it's a perfect deb fight. This is an interesting attack called barrier attack. When the Deb does the barrier attack, they're actually completely invulnerable to anything. Anything I would do would simply get reflected back at Samus. So the best thing to do is nothing. Hopefully I won't lose my speed booster charge this time. There we go. That's how it's supposed to work. That's how that's supposed to work. So yeah, the gig is gone now. I got rid of the icicle there earlier as a anti-lag measure of sorts. And the Deborah sharing is once again why I wait to do this until level up. Not a bad Deb fight either. I don't have to kill him, but I generally kind of want to, because this way I know he can't get him away later. I just started that a touch late. I mean a touch late too. If I can get this first try here as well. Nice. That skips having to climb the room. If I did not get that, I would simply screw attack up and over to that side and then climb the pillar. So, time for some tricky movement there. That jump isn't supposed to be possible, but they kind of left of the snow in place. And immediately after, we also get the turnaround, double jump, turnaround jump, which I was talking about earlier. Very tricky and precise because the second jump is actually the one I turn around on. So I end up having to go out quite a bit before I actually start to turn around. Time for this laggy room. Yes, this room is very laggy. That is not a friend. That is literally how laggy the room is. And you can tell because as soon as I enter the tunnel there, it goes away. One more energy perk to pick up. Dub door at the very end. The interesting thing is now that I have base jump, you'll actually get to see this room done really interestingly well. Yeah, we kind of don't go on the right side at all. Because there's no reason to anymore. Alrighty. Trying to stretch out here a little bit. Sorry I bumped the microphone. That's probably early. But other interesting thing to point out is since I dropped the power bomb, that actually hits the other bomb targets underneath. So I'm at 8 E-tanks now, which is where I should be. 49 missiles, I believe, is where I should be. Put it this way. If you're watching this, you'll you'll know it's correct. That's the problem with, actually it's the main problem with 100% is it's a ton of memorization, especially right at the end of the game, right at the end of the run. I used to have counts in this, and then I did a route change.
This elevator is bound for the main sector.
Where I literally moved a missile from Sector 1 first trip all the way to cleanup. So it throws counts off for the entire run, and I had them memorized. So now I'm kind of uncertain because I had counts memorized, and now
Sector 3.
I've changed counts. So I. That's why I say, like, I think 49 is where I'm supposed to be. I hope 49 is where I'm supposed to be, because no, I'm back to Sector 2 now. That's for sure. Another perfect death. Holy cow. So while I wait on the door to unlock, because it will take a moment to unlock, actually super the barrier over here to activate this console. And due to having gotten a lot of things earlier, that's actually the only thing I need on that side of Sector 3. Everything else I can get from over here. So we're going to start off by taking the route backwards to Ridley. I do have to kill at least one of those guys in order to be able to get the speed booster charge here. And it doesn't really matter. I kind of want to just optimize the speed booster itself, but so it doesn't really matter. You know, how far along I am, just as long as I optimize the speed booster itself there. So yeah, if I was able to take that path from Sector 1 to Sector 3, I would do cleanup in an entirely different manner. But since that is locked off, I can't do it, so I do cleanup in this order. Sector order doesn't really appear to matter. The only thing I'm doing with sector order is I'm trying to optimize the main sector movement. So by doing the sectors in 2, 3, 1 order, what I end up doing is finishing with Sector 1, which is right by the door I need to use after I'm done with cleanup. You actually do need space jump for that one, because you can't quite get far enough across in order to get up, or you can't quite get high enough up in order to reach that without space jump and screw attack. On disc, there's actually a very interesting strategy for this room. On disc, there's a strategy there where you can force the game to kind of unload something, kind of unload things a little bit. And as a result of that, you can beat the game loading this room fully and actually screw attacks to that through the out of bounds due to the slower loading times. It's one of the only cases in the run where disc actually has a semi-advantage. But despite all that, due to everything else, disc is still very much slower for 100%. That's just an interesting little optimization I'd like to point out. So, because when we went to Ridley, we actually took a different path. The game points that out now because it thinks we're going to Ridley in this room, and thus it wants to point out the going to Ridley path for us. Truth be told, we're not actually going to Ridley at all, but it still wants to be nice. So we just let it be nice and helpful. Also, speaking of Ridley, it is actually faster to take this route back out than it is to go up to Ridley. So you do get to see these rooms one more time. And after this, we are off to Sector 1.
This elevator is bound for the main sector. This elevator is bound for Sector 1.
Please, please, please do not let me lose too much time in Sector 1. So PB had double golds here. PB golded literally the entire Sector 1 cleanup. So yeah, this is going to be really interesting. For Sector 1, we do Far Sector 1 first. And once you see Sector 1 cleanup route, you'll actually really love it. I don't know who came up with this, I don't remember sadly, but it is definitely the most clever route. And it's also by far the fastest as well. So Far Sector 1 first. Then near Sector 1. And I do have to do a speed booster here, so I'm kind of hoping. Yeah, he caught up to me. That's it. I was hoping I'd be able to outrun him. I able to outrun. Load here, really hard. Down water level. That wasn't too bad. Please, please, please. There are some shine sparks in this game that are too tricky to otherwise want to mess around with. That one specifically is one of them. I have no interest in messing around with that one, trying to do that one more optimally, because it is just way too much time loss if you fail it. So get this guy here. And that missile down there is actually the missile I normally was getting during first trip to Sector 1, but I'm actually going to get now on the way back. Cost a little bit of time clearing those guys out, but it's probably for the better. Off to fight a Deb here. Not too bad of a Deb fight. But yeah, you can see here as well that that door is locked. And now we're leaving Far Sector 1 here. So our missile count is good. This is where I'm supposed to be. 63 will be the missile in 2 rooms from now. 64 will be in the other room. And then 65, 66, 67 are all in the bioweapon research facility here. Perfect grab right there. I'm going for a tiny little shine spark here. I mentioned that normally shine sparks don't save much time. That's a very long one though. And as a result, saves quite a bit of time. Three missiles down in here. The one I could have gotten before, but the other two in deep exam center, or I'm sorry, in deep bioweb facility. I need epilogue 4. So let's get them all now. Not too bad. Those things are very annoying to kill. So that door is locked during epilogue or during main game, and also this room is not accessible because it's actually the room beyond the MB fight room. This is also considered a morph ball tunnel. So I couldn't unmorph there if I wanted to. And that is half of Sector 1 cleanup. So now we are off to front of main sector, or Sector 1, I'm sorry. There are a handful of difficult tricks still. There's a precise grapple that saves time if you can get it. And that is for One of the missiles, I think 69. Probably started this early, but that's okay. So there's a grapple target here that'll drop down after I missed it. Yeah, if you can screw attack up there long enough, you can actually hit the grapple target there. Otherwise, you have to speed booster run up. And then it's just faster to shine spark up. But if you can hit the grapple target, that saves a bit of time because you don't have to speed booster then. You don't need anything for that. It's just that door only opens during epilogue for some reason. That's kind of surprising that that door is an epilogue only door, but it is. I should probably roll a lot more there, but because I'm still kind of learning that one, you know, where I can go for that, it's a little bit more. It's a little bit more tricky. During main game, there's actually gamers in the room, which is why I don't get that missile during main game. If you're really good, you can actually just grapple up to that directly. Or shine spark over, or screw attack over to that directly after you fire the super, bud. Let's just say you've got to be really good for that. That power bomb cleans out all of the blocks, scrap blocks. The scrap blocks blocking my way. That power bomb cleans out more of them. Oh nice, I phased through the grate. Thank you. That was a really annoying time loss. Yeah, if you do it right, you can actually just face it right there, which is the thing. Usually you can just bomb your way back out. Apparently it wasn't even working there. So, doubly annoying. Barrier. Yep. Okay. Final E part. Good. I have 2 more missiles to get. One right here, and then one you will see. Yeah, we actually end up taking this path backwards. The game pretty much somewhat intends you to take this grapple target up to in here, and then from the grapple target, you can take this path to get to that part of Sector 1. We do it reverse, though. I did not give you permission to hit me. So... that is cleanup. Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy. I'm 14 seconds ahead of him. Please do not mess this up, Reno. As you see, barrier again. Poor Deb. Oh god. Oh god. This is literally going to come down to the wire, I have a feeling. Like, this is literally going to come down to escape. I hate when runs come down to escape. God. Oh my god. I hate when runs come down to escape. This is Gauntlet. And I'm probably going to be very quiet for things here. So nice to get revenge on those things, by the way. Also, speaking of enemies to get revenge on. Really good Super Spezians. And two good riggers. All right. Here goes Fantune. And please forgive me because I'm going to be very quiet for this. Boy. Fantune's not hard, it's just he's just a very annoying boss. Oh boy. Oh boy. Could have been a better fight. Could have been a better fight. But, this is going to be a very interesting escape too. So, odds on PB is almost 100% right now. The question is sub 301 or no. I'm right on the line pretty much now. So, those of you like, but you don't have 100%. 100%'s coming. I promise you, it's coming. It's coming in about 20 seconds. And yeah, because the screw attack is just fast. Here we go. Let's start the escape sequence. So,
Evacuate the facility.
I should be 100%. I really hope it's 100%. I don't think I missed anything. I had all the E-tanks, I had all the E-parts, I had all the recovery tanks, I had 80 missiles at the very end. The only thing you cannot check by looking in the top left corner of the screen is you cannot check your Excel charges. However, all 6 of them, I believe I've obtained. So I should have 100% here. I really hope I do, let's put it that way. Furthermore, this almost is guaranteed to PB at this point. And I believe, based on when I started this should be sub 3 hours. This should be something like a 3:00:40, I think, if I did my math correctly. Oh boy.
Please evacuate the facility immediately.
Just please be 100%. Please be 100% and please be sub 301. I think it's both. This is, yeah, it's sub 301. Not by much, but that's sub 301.
Sorry for keeping
Just
you
please be
waiting.
100%. Just please be 100%. Just please be 100%. Thank you.
Perfect. Congratulations.
Well, alrighty. That is my first PB for Hundo in quite some time. Very glad for it. Very happy to have it. Literally another 1 minute to cut to the sub 3 hour mark. Should happen very soon. I hope. I don't we don't use in-game time for runs, we just use RTA. That said, I do like to show off my in-game time at the end of the run. So 4:18:02, that is quite good. That is 29 seconds faster than old PB, which was a 4:18:31. In RTA, this was a PB of 33 seconds, so I'm happy to PB. Really would love to get sub 3, but it's just not this run. But anyway, guys, thank you very much for watching, and you guys all have a good night.